Welcome to episode 85 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and this week I'm joined by my co-host, Doug Griffith.
Good afternoon, Tony.
Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Well, I thank you much. I couldn't make it last week, but I'll start out with the weather report as we normally do, and today is mostly sunny, but cold and windy. And I think it's just a prerequisite of what's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be cold for a while. It was bone chilling this morning.
And going to be worse. I think Saturday morning or Sunday morning is supposed to be in the single digits.
Yeah.
So
and
stay in, stay warm.
My wife was giving me a hard time because we used just the heater, and she's like, sometimes I'll try to save a little wood, or I'll let it burn a little cool, and she's like, don't touch that thing.
Yeah.
It was cool. Had a great
more
week.
wood.
Yeah.
More wood.
So I was out chopping wood yesterday to make sure we have plenty of kindling to keep everything nice and sparked up.
Warm. Yeah.
All sorts of fun stuff this week. Last week we talked a little bit about it, but I want to talk a little bit more about the cheese event. But before I do that, just quickly at the top of the show, if you're watching and if you'd like to write about beer, I just got some permission to hire would be the wrong word, because that would
imply
indicate
money
that I was going to actually pay you. Yes. So I got the permission to engage as many bloggers as I want. We started we at surecraftbeer.com now. We have one of those it's a payment system that you get paid by how many times people read your story. In a good
the better
year,
it is, the more you get.
Right, but in a good year, you might make $100. This is but you will get a lot of exposure. It's done. I mean, I started off blogging for free, then for pay, and now I'm president of the company. I'm not president of the company, but if you're looking to break into the beer writing, or beer culture writing,
or just writing about anything about beer,
right? Anything about beer, and
good exposure, good.
Right, and I made the appeal on the Duh website, but I'll make it again here. I would love a homebrew blog, because that's one I just can't write myself, and it would be cool if somebody wanted to write about homebrewing or tips and tricks or any of that. Just let me know. Reach out to me, Tony@oceancity.com, and I'll get you set up, and you can write as much or as little as you like, and I will promote it, and I will make sure it's spelled right, because even though I can't spell my own stuff right, I'm very good at making sure your stuff is spelled right.
Wish I could write really good. I would do something like that, but that's just not much of a writer. Gee, I don't know.
Well, we do this. This is your.
Yeah, this is my writing.
Yeah. Well, if you'd like to prepare, we could do like a tip of the week, like a homebrew tip of the week, and that would be very cool, because mostly that's the only reason we don't do more homebrew stuff here is because I don't know anything about homebrew. So
I can fill in on that part of it.
So maybe we'll try to add some homebrewing tips and tricks as we go along. But so now to get to the fun part, we were at a beer and cheese tasting last week. So that was
Wednesday week. Yesterday, yes.
8 days ago.
In Ocean City. Clarion Hotel, right.
And I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was. Had some good beer and some good cheeses, and they went very well together, most of them.
Yeah, I think my favorite was in between. There was that Maytag Blue with the Angry Clown.
Okay,
that was just because I've never had that cheese before, and that blue cheese was so good.
And the Roquefort was good too.
Yeah, that was with the Paul Bunyan from
Tall Tales.
Yeah. Right. But my other, I think maybe one of the most interesting ones, because I've never had it before, I'd never even heard it before, is the Red Dragon cheese.
Yes, I had never had that before either. That was cheddar. Good. It's like a creamy cheddar. It wasn't as hard as what most cheddars are, but it had mustard seeds and I'd say a hint of horseradish in it.
It wouldn't surprise me. I guess it's a special cheese. It's made in Welsh. It's made with Welsh. Yeah. With Welsh. It's made in. No, they also, if you can't speak Welsh, you can't make the cheese. You have to do like a Welsh incantation over it. But yes, it's made in Wales, and they use the Welsh brown ale to make it, and there was like a pint. I knew that Space Otter Pale Ale did have a little bit of a fruit kind of taste to it, but the Red Dragon really did kind of bring out that pineapple. Yeah. And now I can taste it even without the cheese. Now it's one of those things where it's like, look at this, you can't unsee it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So taste this, you can't untaste it.
Right, exactly.
So you got you now.
And that's what I thought was really fun about it, and that's what I would like to do with the ones in the future. Is that's the best takeaway. The best takeaway is learning how to pick a flavor out of a beer. And for somebody like me, I'm not really good at it. So for someone like me to get good at it, that's how it would have to be. It would have to be like you show all of these things, and I just focus on the one thing. But then I can kind of take that home with me.
You know what that means?
What is that?
You got to drink more beer.
I do have to drink more beer. More sit-ups, more beer.
More cheese, more beer.
Absolutely. And so, did you have any favorites? Any standouts for you?
I liked them for the most part. I liked them all, but I agree with you with the blue cheeses. Both the Maytag and the Roquefort were good. With I just like those cheeses.
Yes.
And the Red Dragon was very good, and I like the smoked Gouda they had. So.
Oh, that was with.
I don't remember what it was with now, but.
That was with the Evo beer, the Crystal Malt, Crystal Row, which I hadn't had before. Had you had that beer?
No,
that was the only one I hadn't had before.
Yeah.
That was a good beer. They say that's made from the Haymaker, which is cool because I was never nuts about the Haymaker. And I was talking to the brewer, and he's like, we've just been tinkering around with it, and they finally got it to some place they liked it, and it was different enough from the Haymaker because the Haymaker they started making that in Del Mar, and that was like a 9% or something like that, and that was before all the beers were 9%.
Yeah, I know.
So they backed it down into the 7% range, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I'll have some more tonight when I go to Annapolis, I believe.
Yeah, great.
Taste of the Eastern Shore tonight in Annapolis. I'm sure I'll see you there. The other thing I wanted to ask is, I really was uncomfortable. We talked about this a little bit at the event. I was really uncomfortable because in a room where no one knows anything about beer, they make me the expert. They're like, okay, well, now you say what goes. And I'm like, really? Actually, Doug says what goes, and I repeat it, and I didn't have a chance to talk to him about this. So I kind of put the beer pairing list together arbitrarily based on color. But when Tracy got there from Third Wave, she's like, how are we first? We have this huge 9% beer. I'm like, it's yellow. What do you want from me?
But yeah, generally, the lighter beers go first, but not necessarily lighter in color, just lighter in alcohol and lighter in hops.
Right.
But the brie with the
Nuck and Fuss.
Yeah, Nuck and Fuss. That was, I think, was appropriate for the end because it was sweet.
That was too sweet for anything to follow it.
Right.
Again, so if I had it to do over again, I would have moved things around. I think, as you said, a little bit by taste. Angry Clown could have been a little bit closer to the front because that's a nice, crispy beer.
Yeah. But that sweetness of the Nut and Fuss does kind of override all the other, some of the bitter beers.
Right. Absolutely. And one of the things that my boss was not complaining about, but she was concerned about was that there weren't any IPAs there. There was one pale ale, but and I said, it's just as well because we don't need any absolute palate wreckers there.
Right. You want to taste the cheese.
You want to be able to taste the cheese. And, lots of people make normal IPAs, but generally if everybody's bringing cool beers, they're not going to bring their lot 3, which is an excellent beer, but also leaves your tongue intact.
Right.
They're going to.
I mean, you had to have something that matched the cheese, and I think some of them weren't the best matches, but they were okay. There were a couple which I can't. The next last one is, I think,
the coffee.
Yeah, but whatever cheese, and was that the Stilton?
That was the Stilton with that. Yeah.
Those two, beer and cheese, seemed to match the best because I could still taste the cheese
and still taste the beer.
And still taste the beer.
Yeah.
Those were an excellent match.
And I'll tell you what, I've always loved that coffee stout. That was one of the first ones my grown-up daughter called me about. She's like, have you had this Morning Glory? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, it's great. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you like it. Because they're not afraid. They use coffee I think they use coffee and coffee. Like, how you can get a coffee flavor? You do know how you can get a coffee flavor from roasted malt.
Right.
So they use that malt, but then they also use coffee. So it's got a big coffee taste.
Big bang.
Yeah. But lots of fun.
It was very nice. And I had a good turnout. I think you said somewhere around 70 people, and that did the way they set it up with the all the beers being served from one side and the servers bring it over to the bar area. I think that worked out very good.
Yeah, we were a little underprepared for the way we were going to serve it. I hadn't been there at all before, so I didn't know that it was going to be like a long, narrow hall. And the servers, you have to give them credit, because at first they were trying to pour each little cup one at a time out of the taps. And the guy's like, this is not going to work. So then he would just pour a pitcher and kind of move it around. So, we'll get better. I'm thinking maybe fruit next time, or nuts, or both, or fruit and nuts, because the idea is we don't want to. We do charge $5 for people who aren't in the industry, but if there are people who are in the beer industry or the restaurant industry, we want them to just come and so they can learn about the different beers and how to taste them. And I like the idea of pairing them with food, but we can't have a dinner. We can't afford to throw one, and and you don't want to. That should be an event. Like if a restaurant wants to have a beer pairing dinner, then that's fine. But that's just out of my league. It's out of my league and above my pay grade. But I'll go out and buy 10 pounds of pistachio nuts or whatever, 5 pounds of pistachio nuts, and I don't know, a handful of.
But if a restaurant decides to do it, you'll tell everybody about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, well, yes, if you're ever having a beer event, let me know, and we'll share it. But the Clarion picked up the cheese. Well, we picked up we had to actually go buy the Red Dragon cheese because no one could even find it. That was Lori's idea. Lori from Mispillion.
Oh, okay.
She's John's wife, girlfriend. She's with John from Third Wave.
Oh, okay. All right.
She's super cool. But anyway, she chose the Red Dragon, I believe, because I asked Eric from Mispillion yesterday if he'd ever had it. He's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Ted.
But it was a different cheese. Yeah.
But try if you get your hands on it. See, they have it at Whole Foods. That's where we went to Whole Foods together. It's a little pricey, but it got even more pricey when you add the toll getting over the bridge. Gasoline.
Yeah.
Would have been better to order it in advance, but what are you gonna do? So, anyways, that was the event. Stay tuned for more events like that. Next up,
talk about events. You got one coming up.
We do. We have a beer.
Love week on and tap. A half. Yeah.
Yep, Love on Tap at Secrets, which is in Ocean City, Maryland, in case you don't know. And I think we have 13 of the local breweries. Here's an interesting thing. The guy from National called yesterday, and he wanted to come. And we don't want him to not come, but I don't know if I've ever had that beer. Do you know? You remember we talked?
Well, it used to be National Premium, which was
that's what it's still called National Premium. Yeah. But he bought the name. Yeah. And he was almost on the show, but then it didn't work out. Right. Have you had it?
Yes, I had. I think 2 years ago I've had it.
Yeah.
A long time ago when it was actually brewed in Baltimore.
Right.
As part of the National Brewery.
Right.
But I had it. I think it was 2 years ago when he was advertising it at the restaurant association thing at the convention center.
Right. HMRA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's good beer. It's a nice.
It's just like a lager, Pilsner.
Yep. It is a lager.
Yellow beer, flavored beer.
Yeah.
They're making it for him actually up in Dominion. His contract brewing it. So that is all I know about it. So he'll be there. If he's there, that's 14. That's 28 beers. I think. So
that's local.
Yeah. That's what we're like. Well, we're really just trying to keep it local. He's like, I'm in Easton, and my boss is like, do you brew in Easton? Because we know you don't.
Yeah.
And because I thought he was brewing in Baltimore, and we don't have any objection to that, but we already had we didn't invite Flying Dog, and it's almost like a christening. You're like, well, if I don't invite him, I can't invite them. Right. And so we just
brewed in Dover. So
yeah, and Fordham announced they're one of the beers. They're bringing a weird beer even for the Girl Scout cookie beer.
Oh, really?
And they're calling it Not Your Daughter's Thin Mints.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's funny because I posted that on our Facebook page, and nobody was like, Everybody was like, I can't wait, or oh my God, I'll never drink that. It's a very divisive beer, and I think for obvious reasons. But I think they've done a lot of great stuff. I also had the pleasure of tasting. Have you had? Lori from Third Wave in Del Mar is bringing their Koahana. It's chocolate cherry stout.
No, I've not had that.
Very good. Very good. I'm not going to have a growler, a pint will do me because it tastes like a Tootsie Pop.
Do they have it on tap now?
They do, yeah. They have it on tap there.
Well, that might be good for Patty for
Valentine's
Day.
That would be a nice Valentine's Day.
She loves stouts.
Oh well, yeah. And it's real good. And again, I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you, let it warm up a little bit.
Yeah.
I really wish they would just keep them at a higher temperature. I know that it's a pain in the neck, and I don't mind. It's just I can't.
Well, part of the reason you want it cold or relatively cold, and if you start warm, it gets even warmer.
Oh, it gets too warm, yeah. But I don't have the patience. I drink beer way too fast. It's hard for me to let a beer even just get the steam off the glass. So yes, if you'd like to join us, tickets are available at Showcraft Beer Fest.
But generally, I like beers as long as they're not in frosted glasses. They end up being somewhere in the 40s by the time you put in the glass and get most of it drank.
Yeah, well, and that's the what I've taken to doing is I can't prevent them from serving me the first one in a frosted glass, but then I'm like, no, please just use the same glass. And the bartenders, I think, sometimes think that I'm just like being a nice guy, like, don't go through the trouble. I'm like, no, I don't like.
Well, we've even gone in places where they have frosted glasses, and I tell them, "Would you rinse that out for me?"
Oh, there you go.
And most places will, or give me two.
Yeah,
I'll drink one now, and by the time I get 20 minutes or so to drinking that second one, it's already warmed up a little bit. Right. At least the ice is gone.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having ice chips in the top.
But you lose a lot of the flavors.
Yeah.
So unless you want it that way because of the fizzy yellow beer.
Right. If it's well, that's what I was at. I was at one of those downtown Ocean City bars where they only have
fizzy yellow water.
Yeah, it was Budweiser. I remember because I'm like I haven't ordered a Budweiser at a bar in a decade. And my wife I ordered. My wife was looking at me. She's like, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna get a $17 bottle of Samuel Adams. No, I just don't want to choke to death during lunch. I'll spend the $2 on the Bud on tap. Choke it down. We'll be fine. Speaking of choking it down, we'll be fine. Next up is the story that we posted about the gluten-free cask ales.
Yep, that's the one that Hamilton Ales out of somewhere in England is brewing. I don't even remember where I saw it. Anyway, it's in England somewhere, and they are voted the most or the best European gluten-free ale by the World Beer Awards last fall sometime.
I've not had one yet that I like, but you were saying that they do this with they're using like a...
Yeah, what I understand, they use an enzyme that gets rid of or minimizes the amount of gluten that's left in the beer. So it takes it down to it's like most things. You can call it something free as long as there's only a few parts per million in there. So, and I don't think it's totally gotten rid of everything, but they reduce it to the degree that it's such a small amount that most people are very tolerant of it then.
Right. And so a non-gluten-free beer, that doesn't have to do with the flavor so much as it has to do with the sugars. Well,
most of the gluten-free beers that I've seen are made with sorghum syrup as the base.
Right.
Where I think this is just a regular beer that the enzyme has been added to get rid of the gluten.
So, their gluten remains in the other beers, but it's used as part of the fermentation process, though, right?
Well, I think the gluten is just goes through the whole. It's in the beer. Yes, it comes from the malt and just remains there because there's no way to get rid of it.
Right, but it's not that's what I think I'm trying to get at. So it's not the flavor. Gluten doesn't provide flavor. It's just a byproduct of the.
But it's just, I don't say byproduct. It's just part of the grain itself. And I think in the gluten, I think is what for bread makes it hold together, sticky. Yeah. So with the enzyme, they're able to dissolve that and somehow get rid of it.
That's interesting. I wouldn't mind trying it. I've only tried the one. It's called Red Bridge, I think. They have it here in Belmar, and I didn't like. I grabbed it. Because I collect bottle caps, and this was maybe 2 or 3 years ago when there were still only 30 different beers to choose from. And I'm like, oh, there's a beer I haven't had before, and I brought it home. And I was like, how would you gluten-free beer? I'm like, I didn't get it. Oh no, you did.
Yeah. Well, I'd be glad to give you a report on it if you'd finance my trip to.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it is.
Yeah. Well, maybe next year. Maybe if we get enough bloggers working for us, we can start to finance our trips abroad. But yeah, I would love to try it. I would love to see if they kind of make that enzyme available for people to use.
I think it is available.
Like that's so it's not a patent thing. They're like, if you
no, I don't think so. I think anybody can get it. The breweries. We have a product that gets rid of it.
Oh, really?
But I've never used it for that reason.
What do you use it for?
It increases. Well, Sean was telling me that you can use it for a normal beer and get rid of that gluten, supposedly, but I've never really used it for anything. It's one of those products that we get from the. I think it comes from White Labs.
And they're like, just in case someone asks.
Yeah.
You have it. Speaking of which, before we go too much further, do you have another class coming up anytime soon?
Yes, we got a class this weekend and next weekend. This weekend's extract brewing at 2:00, and next weekend we're doing an all grain. Starts at noon.
Oh, very cool.
So approximately noon to 5 next Saturday, and this Saturday extract brewing here in the brew room.
Very cool. And if you're ever interested in having any courses, just reach out.
Yep, let us know. Or check our website. And I guess we can say we're broadcasting from Extreme Brewing Brewery.
Yes, we're here from Extreme Brewing Brewery.
Or the classroom.
Right, the classroom of Extreme Brewing, where they make all sorts of great beers. One of the other things you have to remember is that if you're interested in finding out the kind of products, they can give you a little taste for educational reasons, so you know the kind of. And what's cool is when they do, like, the beers that you taste are really just they use the same methods to make them that you would use when you took your stuff home.
Use the same recipes, same everything.
So keep that in mind. All right, real quick, I know we're running up against the wall here. I just wanted to give a shout out to our friends at Fin City.
Yep.
Brewing. Vince, who learned to brew here, right? Or did he already know how to brew?
Yes.
Is he one of your students?
He is.
I know he comes by still occasionally and gets stuff.
Yeah, he needs a few things here and there, and he gets things for some of his test batches that he does at home.
Right. So. And most of them do. The thing that they've decided to do this winter, and I think they're going to continue it, is do beers for distribution from their Ocean City location. Now, Fin City was very successful with their pumpkin ale, and they were like on the pumpkin ale rise. They were one of the earlier-ish pumpkin ales that got really successful. They got really successful and really big, and they followed it up with with an amber and an IPA and a pale ale, so 3 other beers. But they can't brew enough of them, and they're in their small brewery here in Ocean City, so they contract, I think, at Peabody.
Yes, in Baltimore.
Yeah. So Vince, and I've always admired this. He doesn't pay them to make their beer. He drives over and he brews just on the big brewer system for the day. But they wanted to do something that was exclusive to Ocean City. So they have 3 new beers out now, and they're going to continue to do this, where they're going to make the beers. They're going to make seasonal beers that are only for restaurants here locally, and they only go to the places that are already getting their stuff. So, and I thought that was cool because there were a lot of restaurants that took a chance on them when they first started. The Globe was one, and the Globe was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll try your beer." And so when he put out this new one, the Globe was the first restaurant to get it, and now it's been at a couple. They have the Capitano's Winter Stout, which I've had. It's very, very good. It's there. It looks like it says it's 5.25%, which is fine, but it tastes really, really big and really, really smoky, and it's the kind of stout that I like. I really enjoyed that. They have a banana porter, which I have not tried, nor have I tried their brown ale or their double hook IPA, but those are the 4 beers that they have for
local distribution.
Only. So good for them. And last but not least, Peyton Manning.
Oh yes, and his Budweiser comments.
And his Budweiser commercial.
Drinking, I'm going to drink some beer. Budweiser.
And the little bit of internet research I've done suggests that he didn't get paid for doing that, but I did a little bit more research in my head, and yeah, he must have. I mean,
it was just so. It seems like it was just a conscious effort to
remember to say Budweiser. Yeah, and he's not. I mean, you've seen his nationwide commercials. He's not a bad actor, but it just felt weird. But instead of getting everybody all getting riled up like they did after last year's Super Bowl craft beer shenanigans, the Craft Beers Association just sent him a bunch of beer, which I thought was awesome.
That's a good way to do it and still stay positive and not say anything negative about Budweiser.
Right, so. Absolutely. And what's weird is, I mean, and the brewer said, they're like, you live in Colorado.
Yeah, he's in the best place to be for drinking beer.
Yeah, there's no lack of really interesting beers, and there's no lack of really good
Denver,
beers. Yeah, right in Denver is a good place to have beer. So I
often wonder, you hear so many times that a lot of the ball stadiums seem to have all the big popular ones, but now more and more I know, even going to Oriole Stadium now, they have some of the craft beers. So and even the Shorebirds have craft beers now. So everybody's becoming more and more educated, and ask for them. So I guess that's the main reason they have them. And I even heard that when they had the Super Bowl in San Francisco, they were bringing wines in. They've been doing a lot with wines because most of the time you don't associate football with wine, but the owner of the San Francisco Giants has a winery and promotes it. So
why not, right?
Yeah. Well, you're in wine country there in San Francisco, so it seems appropriate.
It makes perfect sense, and it's funny to see a little bit of the wine pushback because I think craft beer has done a really good job of saying, you know what, there are lots of different ways to have craft beer. And, some of them are where you might be drinking wine, and, they're two different things, and it's not that one's better than the other, but it's not that one's better than the other. It used to be that wine was better than beer, and now beer's like, no, it's not better. It's just different.
It's a different drink. Yeah.
It just depends upon the taste sensation you're looking to get.
But it is odd that, I mean, with beer, you've got all these big conglomerates brewing beer. With wine, you don't seem to have as many. There are some big wine names, but not in the scope of what Budweiser, Miller Coors is.
Well, certainly, but I think that it's also harder to tell. Like, we don't know. Like, I know that Coke owns a bunch.
Yeah,
Coke owns a ton of wines, and I think that they have some private label type stuff that you don't know is Coke. They might own like Almaden or Frenzia. I think they own Frenzia. So you wonder about.
But still, it's not like InBev where
there's more than one winery. Yes.
Or it's a big conglomerate now.
Right. And that's just. I guess that's how wine's been able to operate, but also wine can operate on. They have a larger margin because people are still willing to pay a lot more for a good wine than they are for a good beer. So. But
the beers are becoming more and more like wines in a way. Some of the price, especially with some of the pricing.
Yeah. You can buy a $12 bottle of beer without I mean. Easily, it's easy to spend $20.
But generally too, those wines or those beers are getting to be higher in alcohol, similar to what the wines are.
Right, they're in the 12 to 15% range. Very cool. All right, well, we are going to call it a day for this time. Remember to stay tuned and follow us on all of the social media. I'm sorry I'm a little off my game today. I just found out I just recalled that I was going to Annapolis, and it just threw me off. So we'll be better next week. I'll be better prepared.
You're doing fine.
The blog will look better. We'll know what we're talking about. But until next week,
stay warm and Drink the beer you like. I can never remember what it.
Drink what you like and be happy.
Yes.